Good afternoon, fellow comrades. Today I would like to talk about Cameroon after Biya. Après moi, le déluge. This is a statement that has largely been attributed to Louis XV of France, who we are told cared little for his people or the generations that were to come after him. But it is also a statement that has been attributed to Post-Biya, who has ruled Cameroon with an iron fist for the past 40 years. The man's only concern, it seems, is his stay in power. Therefore, it is clear that he does not care about the current state of affairs, the welfare of the people, or the generations after him. And since our Francophone brothers have demonstrated over the past decades that they have neither the will nor the capacity to get rid of him, one can safely assume that he is likely to stay in power until he dies, leaving behind a country that is already on life support. On the eve of Mr. Biya's 40th anniversary at the helm of Cameroon, Jeune Afrique published an article entitled "Le Cameroon après Biya." The article makes an interesting analysis of the various scenarios which await Cameroon after Biya goes. Interestingly, this was being done at a time when the Southern Cameroon's alliance was busy also discussing similar issues. Jeune Afrique advanced 4 main scenarios which are likely to take place once Biya goes. The first being that there's likely to be war and chaos between the clans after Biya goes. The second is the possibility of a surprise heir to the throne. We've seen the actions and the moves of Frank Biya as potentially that kind of scenario. Then there is the third, which is the possibility of a military takeover after Biya goes. And finally, Camto and the opposition take over after Biya goes. In the article, the paper discusses all these scenarios, but leaves out a couple of them which we had clearly earmarked in our own analysis. In the Alliance, we do agree that the first 3 scenarios are quite possible. However, a Camto and the opposition takeover is a little far-fetched at this point in time and within the current context of Cameroon as we know it. Interestingly, the article fails to mention a key player on this chessboard called Cameroon, and that is France. For a while now, Biya has quietly eroded French influence in Cameroon in comparison to other Francophone countries on the continent. This has significantly reduced the influence of the France-Afrique, given the very unique and strategic position of Cameroon in the development and sustenance of the France-Afrique on the continent. Therefore, we must assume that France is a key player in the game and deserves a place in the numerous scenarios that would unfortunately befall Cameroon after Biya goes. And the Camto scenario could easily fall within this category. The Northerners have been agitating for a while, signaling a clear intent to seize power back to the north, while there is also significant reason to believe that the Bamileke lobby is actively at work. There is also interest from the Grand Sawa and of course the Beti Bulu, who believe that power is theirs for keeps. What we found rather intriguing about this analysis of Jeune Afrique is the fact that the Southern Cameroons does not count for anything. This is how far low down the pecking order our struggle is regarded, and for good reason. We have gradually but surely lost the momentum. Even worse is that while various stakeholders are sharpening their knives and others are already moving their chess pieces, are waiting, just looking for the moment when Biya disappears, Southern Cameroonians have not been able to rally and study ways by which we can take advantage of the anticipated chaos and take our destiny into our own hands. In our analysis as the Southern Cameroon's Alliance, we have continued to mention the real possibility of an Anglophone as an heir apparent, as a way of crippling whatever little resistance we have left in our struggle. This has been used successfully in other contexts, and interestingly, some pundits are already advocating very strongly for an Anglophone as a president. We must take this seriously, as it is a threat to the liberation quest of Southern Cameroons. Our grievances and our resolve to part ways with French Cameroon are not tied to the need for an Anglophone president. Everything is fundamentally wrong with the relationship between the two Cameroons, and this must be properly communicated to our people so that they should not be hoodwinked. They need to understand that some cosmetic solutions will just not cut it. It is true that our liberation struggle has lost a lot of its momentum. There is a state of disillusionment and disappointment on ground zero as people have become victims on both sides of the spectrum. It is therefore a truism that for the people who are brutally treated on a daily basis by the soldiers of the Republic, and at the same time from the yoke of criminals who harass and extort from them daily, they become susceptible to easy solutions. But we must understand, however, that French Cameroon is also in a state of decay and chaos. We cannot fold our arms and watch others decide our fate and our future for us. There is a serious strategic and intellectual exercise that we must undertake. We will have to ask ourselves some difficult questions, but even more, we must be capable of finding some difficult answers in response to these difficult questions. 1. In the ensuing chaos that we all expect will take place, what is the game plan for our people who are based in French Cameroon? In the face of possible civil war amongst and between Francophones, what is our plan to evacuate our people to safety? In the case where Francophones have to flee an already fragile Southern Cameroons or flee to an already fragile Southern Cameroons, what is our humanitarian plan? And most of all, how do we take advantage of the situation on the ground in French Cameroon to break free from the annexationist regime in Yaoundé? The scenarios are many, and eventually one of them is going to happen and is around the corner. The Southern Cameroon's Alliance had already begun this discussion some 3 years ago, but the time has come to move past discussions and the need to introduce a real preparedness and response plan. This cannot be left in the hands of a few. We have to widen the circle. In every adversity lies opportunity, but are we able or capable of seeing them? I thank you.